everything in them?
Certainly, this one's about to have your face in it.
Your big good barrage is over, Rabbit.
Velma, look out! It's...
Wanna see a magic trick?
Multiversus, a crossover Smash-like platform fighting game with characters all across Warner Bros. Released its open beta back in 2022, and it blew up. I feel like most of us even forgot that that was an open beta, but after falling off and being taken offline, version 1.0 has just released, and it's a lot of fun, and there are many things I like about it, but there are some major issues. But let's talk about it. Hi guys, DPX here reviewing today Multiversus 2024. I guess that's what we'll be calling it. Now before we do that, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to hit the bell, leave a comment, or I'll make sure you fall off.
I put in the time, I'ma make you mine.
When I am finished, they shall rename this game Multiversus.
Starting off with the good, I think that this roster is great. I love it. I already thought the roster during the beta was really good, and right now, it's not that much different from the beta, but I still think it's a really solid roster. Like, you got a good selection of Warner Bros. Characters, and the franchises in there. You got DC, Looney Tunes, Scooby-Doo, Game of Thrones, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Rick and Morty, Gremlins, Tom and Jerry, Iron Giant. Even LeBron James is in this game to represent the most epic movie of all time, Space Jam. And even crazier, they got Jason fucking Voorhees in this game? From what I know, Warner Brothers lost the rights to Friday the 13th, and now the ownership rights to the franchise are all over the place, so how they got Jason in this game is wild. In addition to Jason, there are two other new characters added to this relaunch. One of them is the Joker, needs no introduction, and the other is Banana Guard from Adventure Time. Both of these characters, along with Jason, are very neat additions to the roster, and not to mention Agent Smith from The Matrix is coming down the line. Now that's sick. Sure, if you look at the roster and dissect it, you could notice some odd omissions or inclusions, like I get Shaggy, but why is Velma here before Scooby? Or when you look at the DC characters, Black Adam, now that we're 2 years removed from the movie, he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Or with Looney Tunes, I feel like Daffy Duck should have been in this game before Taz or Marvin. And I love Gremlins, but personally, I don't think we needed more than one character from that movie. But those are all small complaints, and small enough to where I'm not even mentioning them in the bad. And I've played, like, every character, and all of them are a lot of fun. Sure, you can tell some got nerfed and some got buffed, some characters have some serious jank to them, but overall, when looking at the fun factor, this game's roster hits the nail on the head. And especially with the knowledge that there are going to be more characters that'll be added later on, I think it only gets better. Each character has a whole bunch of skins too, which I think is very neat. It makes this game feel even more like a crossover by digging deep into certain characters and their franchise and picking like a costume they had once, you know. For example, one of Batman's skins is him dressed as a ninja, referencing Batman Ninja. Morty has an Evil Morty skin. Jason Voorhees has Uber Jason. Or Bugs Bunny has a whole lot of costumes, from Hollywood Bugs, Maestro Bugs, Brunhilde Bugs, so on and so forth. The method in which you unlock these costumes along with characters may be a bit questionable, and I'll get to it later, but I just feel like these costumes add more fun to the game. As for the gameplay, there has been a lot of discourse around the gameplay online, and they aren't particularly good things, but personally, I kind of feel it's blown a little out of proportion. It's not perfect, and I'll get into that later, but honestly, it wasn't noticeable for me until I read about it. And also, this game has much bigger issues, I feel. Because right now, I like the gameplay. It sets itself apart from Smash very well by having unique things like air specials, where some characters have special moves that are somewhat different in the air as opposed to on the ground. Not to mention, I don't think the beta had dash attacks, but this version does. I know dash attacks, those are in Smash, but I just wanted to mention that. It's also worth noting the many classes or categories that the roster is split into. You got Bruisers, which are characters like Batman, Shaggy, LeBron, and Morty. You know, characters that are more just like, you know, they just beat the shit out of you. You got Assassins, which are characters like Harley, Finn, Arya, and Marvin the Martian. Characters that I feel like are a bit faster and use a weapon. tanks include characters like Superman, Wonder Woman, Iron Giant, and Jason Voorhees, bigger or stronger characters. And then mages include characters like Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, the Joker, and Rick, characters that more so rely on projectiles. There used to be a support class, which were characters that were better in teams, but they removed that class, and they removed a lot of things from this game, but honestly, I could do without the support class, so I'm ultimately fine without it. In addition to the game labeling each character with classes, it also labels them by how difficult they are, which I think is pretty neat. And then there are other details listed, like if the character is heroic or villainous, if the character is animated or non-animated, if the character is human or non-human, or it lists what franchise the character is from, and more. You know, I just think it's a nice touch. The relaunch of Multiversus also introduces a new mode called Rifts. While I do have issues with it that I'll get to later, on the surface, Rifts is pretty neat. It almost works like a mix of classic mode from Super Smash Bros. With a bit of story in there. It's actually, in a way, closer to the story mode from Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. This is the closest thing Multiversus has to a story mode, which I think is neat. I would have liked maybe some better ways of conveying the story than just text that you read and that you might accidentally skip, but I still think it's neat nonetheless. Other stuff I liked, correct me if I'm wrong, but every character seems to be fully voice acted. And not just some random VAs voicing these characters, no, Mark Hamill and Tara Strong voice Joker and Harley respectively, as well as the late great Kevin Conroy's voice lines from the beta version, returning as the voice of Batman once more. And it doesn't stop there. One thing I noticed is that at the beginning of a match, a character will say something about another character. What I mean is, like, I can specifically recall playing as Marvin the Martian and matching into Superman, which, out of context, that matchup sounds wild. But I remember at the beginning, Marvin says something about Kryptonite to Superman. Again, little stuff like that, I just love. I also feel like the music, specifically the music on certain stages, got quite a glow up. Or maybe they were always like this and I didn't notice. I don't know. I know some of these songs were in the beta, but the music on the Rick and Morty stage, the Game of Thrones stage, the Powerpuff Girls stage, and Dexter's Lab all go very hard. And lastly, the game got quite the visual overhaul, and it makes the game look much better. I didn't hate how Multiversus looked before, but it did look relatively cheap. Now, it looks really good. Moving on to the mix, I don't have a whole lot, but there are a few things. One is the music. I know I literally, like 2 seconds ago, just praised the music, but I'm not really talking about the stage songs, at least not all of them, but rather the menu music, which is what you'll be hearing probably the most. It's not bad, you know, it's not like get this shit off or anything like that, but it's kind of just generic, slow, quiet, and not really getting me pumped up to play a fighting game. In addition, there are other music on certain stages that don't sound like they fit the stage or franchise it's representing. Like the Space Jam stage, for example, honestly has music that sounds like it could be for anything. Another mixed thing I have, and it's very small, but when playing online, or I can't recall if this happened offline, but playing online at least, you have either a red, blue, or yellow outline around your character, even when you're not in teams and just doing 1v1, and it can get obstructing. Again, not that big of a deal, but it doesn't look good at all. And lastly, the gameplay is a bit slower. A lot slower, actually. I'm putting it in the mixed, though, because I don't know if it's just been a while since I played the beta and forgot how the gameplay was, or whatever it is, but I just didn't notice it right away, and it didn't bother me too much. But looking at it side by side, yeah, the gameplay has gotten much slower.
You'll get a kick out of this one.
Moving on to the bad, I want to make one thing clear before I actually do that. Multiversus is a lot of fun, and everything I'm about to mention are things that could be easily changed. I am rooting for this game, and I am rooting for the developer Player First Games, and I want this game to be the best it could be, because it has a lot of potential, and I'm already kind of addicted to the game in a way. That being said though, Multiversus in 2024 has a lot of problems. First off, the character rotation is back. Or you can say it never really went away. Now, this isn't actually an issue for me because I have all the characters, but having a character rotation is fucking stupid. I understand having it in the beta, but now it's the full release. Why not let people play whoever they want, whenever they want? And the shitty thing is, in the beta, if you wanted to do a local 1v1 or do training mode, you could select any character even if you haven't bought them or they're not available in the rotation. Maybe you just want to try out the character in training to see if it's a character you want to play, and then buy. But now, you can't do that. So not only does the rotation apply online, it applies offline too. And speaking of offline, one issue that I feel the beta had was its lack of offline or single-player offerings. Sure, they eventually added an arcade mode, but now, considering what I said about the character rotation, along with the fact that they removed arcade mode, the offline or single-player offerings are pretty much non-existent. For offline, you could do training, and you could do 1v1 with a friend, like right next to you in the same room, even though they may be nerfed, but that's at least something. But for single-player, you basically got nothing. I guess you got the rifts, and though I found the rifts fun, even those have some glaring flaws. One major flaw is that with every fight in the rift, there is a list of challenges, stuff like hit 7 up specials or deal 50 damage, etc. That's fine and all, but then one of the challenges for every single match in the rift is get a second player to join you. Here's the thing, you can't do couch co-op in rifts. When the game tells you to get a second player, it means get a second player online. I think it is pretty cool that you get to do online co-op in the rifts, but that's the only way you do co-op. And sure, you could progress without clearing all the challenges, but some of them have daily rewards, which you can't receive unless you clear all the challenges. So you did everything the game is telling you to do that actually requires skill, or at least, like, you know, playing the game competently and all that, but if you are playing by yourself, you just don't get the reward. Hey guys, Editing DPX here. I played the game a bit more after this and realized that I did get one of the daily rewards for one of the rifts, one of the matches, but I still didn't bring in a second player, so I don't know what the fuck this is about. Alright, back to the video. And that is especially an issue when these challenges are the best way to unlock characters and costumes. Like I said, I've had all the characters, but I'm a costumes guy, and you make unlockable costumes in a game, I want them. So trying to unlock all the costumes is just too much of a grind. And if it's too much of a grind for costumes, I don't want to imagine the grind for characters, especially when the game only lets you have 4 at a time. And the grind is made even worse because of the battle pass progression and how slow it is. I don't think there is any consistency with how you progress through the battle pass, and it takes forever to get anything you actually care about. Other issues I have, you can't switch your character in between matches. It's a smaller thing, sure, but let's just say you match with someone online, lose, and then want a rematch but counterpick so you could win. You can't do that. This would be an issue regardless, but it's more frustrating considering that you were able to do this in the beta, so I don't know what happened here. Despite what I said, playing Multiversus is a lot of fun. The gameplay, even though it may be a bit slow, is a hell of a good time. All these characters are pretty neat, and you're not going to see many rosters quite like this. But as an entire package, this kind of feels more like a beta than the actual beta did. Many features removed, the character rotation is still present and even more present than before, and it's very grindy and predatory. Before, Multiversus felt like a passion project from a team that was passionate about platform fighting games and Warner Brothers, but now it feels like a passion project from a team that was passionate about platform fighting games and Warner Brothers, but with Warner Brothers getting a little greedy. Like I said earlier, I'm rooting for this game, and it's certainly not in an unsalvageable state. Multiversus has a lot of potential, but as it is right now, the full release ironically feels like a bit of a downgrade from the beta, which should ruin the game for me, but the fun factor saves it. In the end, I give Multiversus 2024 a 7 out of 10. maybe what I was saying and this score does not line up, but I guess maybe the potential. I know they can turn this around. Will they? I don't know. But also, it's probably a game I'm going to keep coming back to. And for that, I can't give it lower than a 7. This one's a complicated one. But we'll see how it goes. But that was my review for Multiversus. People seem to be loving it. People seem to be hating it. I almost want to say that I'm loving it because part of me is. But there are things that I just can't excuse about this one. What do you guys think? Do you guys like this game? Not like this game? If you haven't played Multiversus, do you guys want to play it? Not want to play it? It's free, so I actually recommend it because it's free on everything except for Switch, which I still think is bizarre because that would be their biggest install base. But regardless, anything about the game, let me know down below. Anyways, if you should like this video, come subscribe, or I will make you fall off.